Welcome to the Heart-Centered Entrepreneur Series. My name is Jody Maley, and I've been an entrepreneur and business owner for over 27 years now. Thanks for joining the podcast, and I can't wait to share with you tips and ideas on how to grow your heart-centered entrepreneur business. As a personality dimensions coach, I help entrepreneurs discover who they are at their core so they can have real and authentic sales conversations with their ideal clients. We all started or joined a business so that we can make an income on our terms. Whether you're just starting out in your entrepreneur journey or have been in sales for a while, the key to any business is sales and nurturing the sales relationship. So I invite you to sit back, relax, maybe even have your favorite drink and take some notes as we have fun delving in to learn more from the top 1% to 2% income earners who are making such a difference and impact for themselves and their beautiful teams. Their tips and ideas will uplift and inspire you in a heart-centered, authentic way to help lift you up, move you forwards towards your perfect dream and goal. So stay tuned to the end of each podcast as I will share a little gift from me that I know will get you inspired in your beautiful business. So I'm going to get your guys, each one of you, your top tip on networking tips to build relationships. So Georgie.
Okay. I think, I think sometimes people automatically look for the networking groups to go to. And I think sometimes what they leave out is if we really understand our clients and who they are, where are they spending their time? And if I think back to, I started my first company 26 years ago when my son was born, when I look through, I built a landscape company, a bookkeeping company, a moving company, and now doing what I do now, a lot of those clients came through relationships that happen almost outside of business. It's through the things that I was doing with my kids because my clients were also there. So I think the more we understand the people that we want to serve, where are they spending their time? And also, where are we spending our time? Maybe it's at the gym, maybe it's in hiking clubs, maybe it's in, painting classes and networking events, of course, too. And then I think the other thing would be leveraging other people's audiences. So who's already serving your people that you can build a relationship with to be able to also serve their people.
And do it in abundance, right?
In a total abundance. And if we go back to even the work of Simon, we're looking for the people who believe what we believe. So where are those people? And that's why I think even taking that back, if we don't know what we believe, and if we can't clearly articulate what that why is and what that message is, really, really hard to find those people. But it's very human. And I think sometimes we put almost too much, we stress ourselves out too much. And we're like, oh my God, where am I going to go find this? Wait a second.
Yeah,
I'm a human and they're a human. Where are my humans? And let me go talk to people like people, but based on those, purpose, values, how can I serve people? How can I help people?
And what I love with Georgie's story, so the first entrepreneur journey that she took was it landscaping?
Yeah.
And again, so here's a business, landscaping, and then tell us how you got your first couple clients, because I love this story, by the way.
Yes.
The kids sold it.
Because I was in insurance and finance. I love my job. I thought it was going to be my career forever. And then I got pregnant. And then I had my baby. And I was like, I can't go back to work. I can't leave this tiny, precious little soul. And his dad was a musician and he'd been doing landscaping. So I'm like, hey, guess what we're doing? He's like, what? Because I was like, I will do anything to not have to leave this kid. And so I said, we're starting a landscape company. I knew nothing, but in my mind, it made sense that you go door to door. It's what you do, right? To build a business, you door knock. So unknowingly, I put that adorable little 3-month-old in a buggy. And I said, I'm going out, I'm knocking doors, and I'm not coming home till I have a client. Who doesn't open a door to a young mom with a baby in a buggy? Everybody does. And I just be like, hi, we're this local company. We're a young family. We're starting a landscaping company. If you need anything, here's our little flyer. We'd be happy to help. And I got our first customer that day, but it's, when I think back, it is just relationship. It's just talking to people. Hey, can I help you? Do you need this? Here's what it is. And that baby did not hurt. Let's just say that.
Well done for all the moms of the world. So and that's the reason I love that story, is because, you didn't go out and be like, oh, I'll have to put up flyers, I'll have to do this. It's like literally knocking on a door and being, hey, this is a service we offer. We're local. I'd love to, mow your lawn. We'd like to tend your garden, whatever. Right.
And I was thinking, what's the fastest way to money? I knew I had a 3-month runway. I knew I had to replace my salary in 3 months. And so in my mind, I'm like, the fastest way is people.
That's right. Absolutely. All right. I love that. So relationship networking skills is usually the closest to you, your home. And yeah, I love that. All right, Marilyn, what's your top networking tip to build relationships?
Yeah, so I had this epiphany, I would say maybe 10 years ago, that if I'm going to do networking, it's not going to be like, what are they going to give me in return? So what happened was I started volunteering for committees at different networking things. And also, when you consider that most networking organizations actually need people to help organize the networking, you go, oh, wait, can I help with that? So boards are fantastic. Kind of like what Georgie was saying, like, is it just about networking groups? No, sometimes like you can explore something that's really close to your heart. Maybe there's a nonprofit. And if you join their board, they're always looking for great people to be part of the idea generation for those things. So you can either join the board of something. I serve on my I serve on the board for our Chamber of Commerce here. And there's something about stepping up that gives you, one, it gives you automatic credibility. But then two, because people see your heart in a bigger spotlight, you don't have to like do so much work than you've done if you're kind of like hiding in the corner or only talking to a few people. It really just kind of showcases who you are at a faster way. So if you're trying to really get out there and make a bigger impact, step up, because it's not like people are looking for people who are super experienced. Most of them are just looking for enthusiasm. They're looking for great ideas, good energy, people skills. So if you have all of those things, go around and see like who would need that in my local area, because sometimes we focus so much on the online that we leave a lot of money sitting on the table from our own community, that because we can meet each other face to face already in that relationship, there's a deeper structure, because one, I know where you live. So I know you're not fake. And you run into each other. And sometimes like you might be networking as business people, but then you might also be in the PTA of your kid's school together as well. So I love that. And I get to help my local commerce grow. And then it gives me better skill sets so that when I do get online, I have those things that I pull from that in person that I can then incorporate into how I show up in the virtual world. So I really say, step up, be a leader.
Step up, be a leader. And you are inspiring a lot of creative people. So that's actually where Marilyn's jam is that she loves working with creative souls and how they can be a creative, but also earn a good income from it. And for some people, they love their art. They're into their art world. And that's why she's called Art Inspired as well, too. I love it. And there's some creatives who really believe, and I don't know why, but this is where Marilyn comes in. She can probably answer why better than me, but they really believe that the art is just to give and give and give, and that they can earn an income from it. And Marilyn's on a mission to change that you can be a creative and have your art inspire the whole world and make a real income from it too. So
I think what happens when you don't have enough examples of people being that and showcasing kind of like what Angela said about their stories of success, it makes people feel like, oh, am I alone in this pursuit? And I must not be able to earn money because it is not the traditional way to earn money. Whereas I find that because you can think out the box and do things that most creatives don't do, as far as business foundational stuff, the marketing, the storytelling, it is kind of like to your advantage to take what these ladies are teaching today, apply it, and then your business is just by kind of like osmosis of that is actually going to just grow naturally. But I think women are creatives as well. So I can lump women into this conversation, that we don't see a lot of the examples half the time that you can balance family. I have 5 kids, and each time I've had a kid, I've actually gotten more productive because they're my why, right? And so, and especially now, my twins, they're 7 years old, but they're nonverbal autistic. So there's all these things that I go into other groups and people are like, and not to be harsh about it, but kind of like when we were talking about when you address the pain versus the light, there's a lot of people using those circumstances as shackles, or using like, I have a new baby as a shackle, or I'm only online as a shackle. That is not the truth. We can always find the truth in everything. And all of us are worthy of making as much abundant income as we want.
Mm-hmm. Raise everybody. Woo! Love that. That is profound and so true. Don't be shackled by those circumstances. And I've always said this too. We all have challenges. Every person goes through some sort of a challenge in their life, and you have a choice, a definite choice, and people don't realize this until you hear it. And then when you hear this, by the way, you're not going to be able to unhear it, but you have the choice to bitch about that challenge that came up into your life and be negative about it, or you have the choice to take that challenge, learn from it, so that it's a God-given gift to help someone else through that exact same challenge. So that's truth. Okay. Love it. Ooh, and I swore. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that just came out. Okay. Angela, what is your best networking tip to build relationships? What do you love to do?
Okay. So I was thinking about this as everyone's talking, because it was a lot of like looking at the people in your life, looking at where you are, where they're hanging out, in your everyday community. And what happened for me is, after I'd gone to that heard that storytelling lady speak, I came back and I was trying to tell stories, but it still wasn't converting. And I was like, okay, I need to think this through, because 20 years ago, when I sold pink lipsticks, I was queen of sales, queen of recruiting. I was winning trips in whatever company I was in. What did I do different? Well, 20 years ago, I wasn't online. I was face to face. I was having real conversations with real people. And so what I started doing is asking myself, how can I do that online? How can I, right? The questions of the best question you can ever ask yourself. How can I? So I started looking at that. For me, it became my Facebook group. And I have a smaller one. It's less than 1,000 people, but I still have 15K months. I have an extremely active Facebook group for a small group. Extremely active. I get that comment from people all the time. And so what is the difference? What shifted for me was I'm not going to just say use the Facebook group. What it was my mindset around conversation. How do I bring the conversations I felt super comfortable having in life, in real person? I can go to the networking event. I can talk to anybody. I can stand up and do whatever I needed to do. That comes from 22 years of teaching. I can stand at the front of a room and say anything, right? So, but how do I do that in the social media world? How do I do that in my Facebook group? How do I create a place where there's interaction and connection? So my Facebook group is called Connect, because that's what I wanted it to feel like. It has kind of has like a little friends thing, because I wanted it to feel like friends sitting on my southern front porch, engaged. So my mind changed around the where I was interacting. It changed around that I started seeing my Facebook group as like someone showed up at my house. They have come to my front porch. They may be like the neighbor that's walking by and just waving, right? They don't want to talk. They're just going to wave as they walk by. and keep on doing their afternoon walk. They may be the neighbor that walks by and is standing in your front yard talking with you for an hour, but they don't sit down. They may be the neighbor that comes and sits down and shares a cup of coffee or a glass of wine with you. And then they could be this close of a friend who comes inside, who has dinner, right? And so I started looking at it like this. And so then I was like, okay, so now that they're here on my front porch, what would I do with a real person? Well, I'm going to have a conversation with them. I'm not going to ignore them because I'm afraid of being the weirdo, right? Nobody wants to be the weirdo. So I was like, how do I not be the weirdo? Right? How can I be authentic? How can I be genuine? How can I really care about someone and communicate that? And so I had to practice, number one, my mindset on that, because I had been in network marketing during the send your hey girl message days. Right. And so I had a lot of resistance to starting conversations, even if it was a genuine compliment or a genuine, like I had my own issues and I had to deal with that. So I had to deal with my issues there. And I hired a coach to help that. And the other part was truly learning how to have conversations in a caring way, where it wasn't about me, where I got rid of the desperation in the conversation. I overcame the, what am I going to get out of this conversation feeling? How do I turn it to business? Those kinds of things. But I mean, not that we don't still have those things in our head, but there is somewhere in there, there's a switch. And I do think it comes with why we do what we do. Because I'm a big believer in, I sell to one-to-one coaches, right? So I believe coaching changes lives. And because we change lives, I believe coaches get to sell differently. Because what we're offering is not like, here's your Canva template. Nothing wrong with that. Sell those. I buy them too, right? But what I'm offering is your life gets to be different from here on out. The skills I teach you never expire. They only make your life better from here into forever. And so because of that seeing as relationship sales and relationship marketing changed everything. And so I think that it just changes how I approach people that come into my group, people that are friends on Facebook. I had mindset work to do, to get where I could have a conversation with people. Don't get me wrong.
And it's been a beautiful journey. I've watched you in the last 2 years of, stepping into who you are truly meant to be and to serve. And it's been an amazing journey to watch you go through this.
Yeah. It's fun. So
networking, fun.
Yeah.
All right, Jenna, what's your best networking tip to build relationships?
So for me, every time I'm with someone, I'm asking who's around them. So obviously you're giving all of your important care and helping them through their process and all the things. But I also start off and I do take the time to see how their day was. How's your family? And I learned this through acupuncture. I don't do it anymore, but it helped me book my whole internship. And then when I started practicing, was just saying oh my gosh, you have knee problems. Do you have a family history of that? Does anyone else in your family have knee problems? And it shows care, but it also starts the conversation of planting seeds for them to go tell other people. So I learned very quickly not to talk about the history, all the things that fascinated me. And tell them if I hit this point, it's likely I'll reduce the pain down to 50%. So please tell them that. If they want it, awesome. If they don't, that's okay. And I took that over to the Facebook world, and same thing during client conversations, I'll ask, oh, are you from a family of entrepreneurs? And it's so easy to just help someone feel seen by asking about their day and their world, but it also gives you deep insight, and you can plant the seeds to start even further relationships. And that was big for me because when I started my group, my father has Parkinson's, and it got really bad to the point where he couldn't move. So my mom and I were doing everything during COVID. Someone can't do it for themselves. So it was literally, his care was from 8 a.m. till about 11 p.m. And I had breaks, but I built my group in those breaks just by connecting with people, creating a space that people were excited about, including a welcome message that was naturally engaging. So a lot of people are against network marketing groups, but I think if once you're in the DMs, it becomes cozy and loving and beautiful and that deep connection. It's so powerful. So my group is networking on so many different levels, from sharing your group in front of the group of 30,000 all the way to behind the scenes or having summits or podcasts. And then I know so many people now, I'm referring people to each other. So it's just like this huge, it's multi-layered. And I think so many people can do it in so many different ways. Like I think someone said there's not one way to do it at all, so long as it gets to that heart connection space. So yeah, so I couldn't go anywhere or talk to anyone during COVID because of my dad. So I didn't have that. So I had to think a little, differently. We all have different circumstances. So we have to do the best, with what we have.
And that when so I knew that you were struggling with that, and I made it a point of checking in with
Yeah, Jody's amazing.
How can I support you? Can I support
Yeah.
you? Because that's the other thing too, when you're building authentic relationships with people, it becomes important for you to check in, like,
Yeah.
been a little bit quiet. Georgie does this to me all the time, like, we didn't hear you, blah, blah, blah. And for me, because I have health issues, and I'm like, seriously, if I go AWOL, it is because I am in a health crisis.
Yeah.
And so bringing that back into people. But I'm hearing a common factor, if you guys have not heard this, between all of you, that it is all about networking in person and actually reaching out. You can get connected. I mean, Georgie and I got connected. Actually, all of us got connected through social media of some sort, is how I connected with you guys. But I took each of those steps further of, let's get on a call, let's meet each other, let's connect, let's have coffee, let's get to know each other. And I think my best networking tip to build relationships is being very clear when you are in a networking group, or whether it's in live or on Zoom or whatever, is to be really specific about who you're serving. Because I was in a networking group. They met every week on a Friday. It was a big group down from Vancouver. And one gal, she was in there probably for 2 or 3 months. And she was like, I'm a life coach. That's how she'd introduce herself, because we all need to have very great, introductory skills to kind of whatever. And then one time, then she gets in there and she said, like, oh, I'm a life coach to new moms, or moms who have kids who slam the door and go to the rooms and have temper tantrums. And I help with the overwhelm of that. And and like Marilyn, we have 6 kids. So I'm like, man, where were you, 15 years ago? I could use that. But as soon as she changed that and made it very, very more specific of who she served, all of us were giving her referrals. Like, oh, I have a kid who has a temper tantrum, or I have a friend who, man, I didn't want to say anything to her when I went to her house the other day. It was kind of embarrassing, and refer her back. And so that's kind of a theme that I'm seeing here too, is authentically connecting in person. And when you have those connections in person, now we can all, especially even in this little group, we can be all like, oh, a coach to coaches. Yeah, that's Angela. Oh, a person who has systems and works with, the inspired artist. That's Marilyn. You want to know your why? You need to go with Georgie. Georgie will go deep into your why as to what you want. Beautiful, authentic connections and heart-centered. Jenna's your authentic girl. By the way, Jenna is my wordsmith, that sometimes I struggle with things and he'll be like, can you make this pretty? Can you make this sound beautiful? Because I cannot do that for the life of me. And so I just appreciate that so much. All right, so we're going to wind down here, and I would just like us all to quickly go through what would you tell your older self? Like, what piece of advice would you give your older self a few years ago? Starting out, because we've all been entrepreneurs here for quite a few years. And what piece of advice would you give yourself to help, give clarity to where you are today? Georgie.
Can I add one thing before I answer that question? I just wanted to say, when we talk about meeting in person too, I think with the digital age, in person can be a Zoom call. Like it can still be online. It doesn't necessarily mean like you're right in front of me because that still counts, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a FaceTime, whether it's a Zoom call. So for all the people that might be thinking, what? It's like, no.
That's a
That
great
counts.
point. Thank
That
you.
counts.
It does. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, what advice would I give my younger self? Honestly, would be to trust yourself. Just trust yourself, because I really believe that we all know, and we get so caught up in the overwhelm of information out there, and just trust yourself. It's okay, go with your gut and trust yourself, because I think then we can be more discerning with the help that we actually need, instead of being marketed to or sold to. Like, just take a minute and go, let me know me, and let me figure that part out first, and then I can find my way. And if I think about with relationship building, I had coffee with, she might would have been my ex-grandmother-in-law now, but she was the 5th richest woman in Canada. And she built a business called BC Bearings. And I was having coffee with her one day, and I said, what would be if you could only give one tip, like what is the actual secret for building this multi-hundred, whatever $1 million company that she built? She goes, oh, it's easy. I'm like, do share. She goes, relationships. She's like, I built relationships with my suppliers, my vendors, my clients, my staff. She's like, I have a computer sitting on my desk, but I don't know how to use it. She goes, someone else does that for me. She goes, it's relationships. So that's the theme of our conversation today. I just wanted to share that from someone who, like, ridiculous levels of success.
Mm-hmm.
It's people, it's relationships. So there's my answer plus some.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I love it. And Marilyn, what would you tell your younger self before you had
Well, and I tell people this too, because technically everybody could use this wisdom, that perfection is not real, and fail amongst people who love you. So that just kind of sets you free. Build those relationships for people who are just willing to accept you as who you are in that moment. We all need to fail upwards. So we're not going to wake up and go, I got it all, like, figure it out. That's not the way life works. It's part of the journey that you solidify your strengths and you build these muscles. So if you say something wrong in a relationship, or you're networking and you don't have that spiel, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. We just need to just resonate. And then if there's people who support you, that's stronger than anything. I'm always enthused to come up with a new idea. I'm not going to be good at it at first, but as long as I can present it to the people, like you're saying that you're presenting things to Jenna, who will spell check with love. My gosh, that is like, you cannot spend money on that. That is just a brilliant, beautiful thing to have in your life. So collect nice people. And so I'm collecting all these beautiful ladies. And really, thank you for this opportunity. I'm so grateful.
Oh, thank you. All right, Angela, what would you tell yourself?
Well, I have to say, collect nice people right now. That's my favorite thing I've heard today. that hit for me. But I'll tell you what I would tell myself, that 20 years ago version of me. Well, let's be more honest, it's more like 25, 30 years ago version of me, right? Is that it's safe to be uncomfortable. Because for me, part of my journey was having to do the mindset work around that I'm safe to start the conversation. I'm safe to be authentic in my post. I'm safe for whatever it is, right? Because that's my biggest core need, is safety, right? And so realizing it was safe to be uncomfortable was a big thing, because the more uncomfortable you allow yourself to be, the faster your success comes. Mm-hmm. And if you're for me, when the more I was trying to protect myself, the less I would make the decision, the less I would commit to trying that new thing, because I needed security, I needed safety. And so I was talking with my coach, Nicole, and she did like 2.5 million over the last 2 years. And so one of the things she was sharing, I said, what's the difference in having $1 million year, $2 million years, and someone who makes 50,000 or 100,000 a year? And she said it was her ability, her willingness to be uncomfortable was what was different. So she compared it to like a rubber band. You know, when you get a new one, they're tight, but that, she said, as a $1 million coach, her rubber band just has a whole lot more stretch and give to it. That willingness to be uncomfortable. So stretch your rubber band, try the new things, reflect and refine, learn and keep going, and let yourself be uncomfortable. It's safe. You'll be okay. So that's mine.
What's your takeaway? Jenna.
Yeah, so if I could go back, I think the major thing would be that it's good and you probably should get a coach, especially in the beginning. But as everyone's saying, to trust yourself, because I probably would have been successful 2 years earlier had I done what I did now, which was just create a community, a big community. In the beginning, it was like, oh, big groups are vanity metrics and all these things. And I kept just feeling like that would make me happy to connect with tons of people all over the world. But you shove yourself down because at that time, especially, there was a specific picture of how you do things. And so I started to just experiment. So like I always thought of it as I have my toolbox from my coach. I have things that work for me right now, but over here I have my toolbox of things that either don't apply right now or don't work for me, but might later. And then at the same time, again, with the acupuncturist background, and you can apply it to any faith, but in Taoism, there's the beauty way. So like you're taking steps towards your truest self, but you don't fight the river. You go with where your natural truth and your essence takes you. So when we're trying to be something else other than ourselves, it's like we're cutting off our light and we're like slanted. So we're exhausted. It doesn't work. We don't attract clients. But if you're in your truth, while incorporating your coach's tips and really getting to know your audience, that's so powerful because you're in your truth. There's that creative flow. So you're open, you're a magnet, you feel big and beautiful. And then like you get to know your audience because your coach doesn't know your audience as well as you do. So if you get on Zoom calls with them, they'll give you the words for your landing pages. They'll give you the words. They'll tell you everything so that you can align your truth with their needs. And then it's just when those things are all in place, it's so much easier. So I would just say to follow your truth, listen to your coach, but also listen to your eye. I know that's a lot of things, but like just have a flow to it, incorporate things and see where it takes you naturally. And that usually feels really good and gets you to success faster. So sorry, but that picture is what I needed. Yeah.
Marilyn, heart.
Yeah.
Hearts, everybody, because that's truth. Live in your truth.
Yeah.
And I think for myself, the biggest tip I would give myself is I've always moved fast in things and learned things really, really quickly. Like I was in my youth, way back, I was a professional athlete. And so I was a gymnast and very centered on the goal, centered on what was in front of me and moving forward. And then my career ended when I was 11 and had decimated one of my ankles and I couldn't compete anymore. And so, I mean, it's kind of funny because you're like 11 and you feel like, what's your life going to be? And then a couple of years later, I was sitting down at the piano and playing, and my dad actually had taken piano lessons when he was a kid. And he's like, man, you kind of have like a skill set there. Would you like to learn piano? I'm like, yes. So I literally went from, I was 13 at that time, and went from not even touching a piano to, in 5 years, completed my Royal Conservatory grade 10. So if you're in the music world, that's huge. So in 5 years, and very, very centered and focused. Like that's always been who I am. So if I could go back and tell myself a big tip, it would be to actually ask for help more, because I'm not very good at that. And so that would be my biggest tip. And so having this, like, oh man, like I'm starting a podcast. Jenna's helping me with the podcast. Georgie and Marilyn and Angela are all going to be on the podcast, and Jenna as well too. And that's huge for me, because that would be my biggest tip, is to maybe reach out and ask for help before I'm drowning and go, hey, I need help with this. People, come and help me. So that would be the biggest tip, is don't wait to ask for help if you are that lone wolf and you have, the drive and the ambition. And it's kind of funny, because my husband, I have in my beautiful office space here, I actually took one wall and made it a blackboard. So I bought blackboard paint, put that up there. And my husband came in here over the holidays and he wrote on it, stop thinking, start doing. It takes strength to stand alone. Because sometimes when you are on that upward swing, it does feel very lonely sometimes as an entrepreneur. But I'm going to take that a step further and just ask for help when you need it. There are so many amazing women who want and love you and want to support you in whatever you're doing. And you don't have to wait until you're drowning before you ask for help. We can be all supportive. And this group, I love you guys to bits. And thank you for joining us today and being your authentic selves and giving us all a little piece of heart from each one of you. To somebody here is meant to hear what we were all saying today. Lives will be touched and impacted by some of the simple things. So again, if any one of our speakers has touched you in a way that you're like, oh, I want to reach out to them. Like first time I saw Marilyn, I was like, this call wasn't even over before I'm like messaging her. I got to reach out to her. Angela was referral. So referral basis, building relationships will give you the people in your spectrum. And same thing with Jenna, like amazing, amazing woman who, this little goddess, she is so full of big heart, people. Like you can see, like she's obviously, a lot younger than some of us jaded people here. That's okay. But just seeing the youth and someone like Jenna who has this inner beauty and glow. And then relationships like Georgie and I have been friends now for 14, 15 years. Like it's hard to believe that it's been that long. So I really believe, so I want to leave you all with this. People are meant to be in your lives, whether it's for a moment, a few days, a few weeks, even a lifetime. And we get to pick and choose who we want to surround ourselves with. So pick and choose people like this group of ladies where we were all like, before the call, we were like getting to know each other and then say, hey, we actually start the call here, people. And so surround yourselves with like-minded people would be my best tip for you all today. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. That's what amazing people like this group of ladies here today are for. And thank you, Jenna, for allowing us to go into the Boss Babe group. I appreciate you and love you so much. And thank you for the tech support here. All right. Take care, everybody. Make it a great day from all of our pieces of the world. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned a lot. Each one of my guests have a special and unique spot in my heart as they have shared what they love about their business and how they truly have grown in their entrepreneur journey. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and I would love to gift to you a fun and easy quiz that you can take right now that will help you assess how you feel about the sales process in your beautiful business. Building relationships, lifting each other up so we can all gain more in our lives and our business is what is truly important to me. And my hope is that in some small way, I've been able to do that for you today. So again, this is Jody Maley with the Heart-Centered Entrepreneur Series here in beautiful BC, Canada. Truly have a great and inspired rest of your day. The link to the quiz will be attached below. And please like, follow, and share this podcast if it inspired you today.